For those of you who don't know, the phrase sovereign citizen normally refers to an ideology for nutjobs who believe that the social contract needs to be renegotiated for each and every person who live in a state. It's really asinine. For example, sovereign citizens believe something like that, since the United States was somehow registered in England around the time of independence, that this means only corporate laws apply to the government. And that means people living within the political boundaries of the nation are free to choose whether to do business with it. They use this to challenge court jurisdictions, which they also say are actually maritime courts improperly acting on dry land. They use it to refuse the responsibilities to register their vehicles or to submit to license requirements. Basically, anything an idiot with too much privilege might throw a tantrum about has received some block of doctrine to say that they are free to do as they wish. It's libertarianism to the extreme, and is something on the order of anarchy for people who still want to hold on to the core of Reaganomics. So why would I voluntarily associate my work with this nonsense? Because the phrase itself is actually a very interesting thought exercise that was part of my character's experience anyway. The idea of a sovereign means to have the right to rule over something, traditionally land and a constituency. The citizen is a person with full political membership in that constituency. The term sovereign citizen, though, is an oxymoron, because neither of them can be an adjective for the other. The cynicism of this ideology is right there in the label itself. You cannot be both the ruled and the ruler, but that's what they seem to claim. They want to benefit from the social order, but then limit their responsibilities as if it's a cafeteria. Again, this is pure privilege. My character exists in this reality, though. He is a sole survivor who is the beneficiary of everything civilization produced. He owns everything, but is also still a dependent on the past, so his power is very convoluted. He first notices this dynamic when he approaches the vacant White House for the first time and cannot bring himself to walk inside because of the legacy rules that prevent him. Later on, though, after several months alone, he allows himself to walk into the Capitol while imagining with disgust the mob that had broken in on January 6, 2021. He spends the day thinking about them and realizes that with no more governments or people, he is both sovereign and citizen at the same time. Only after he figures this out is he able to walk into the White House and sit down where the president had been when he disappeared. I actually had this change in mind when I wrote down the phrase sovereign citizen and realized that this actually captured the whole story very well. There will eventually be a constituency again, and the realization that he had while he walked inside the Capitol and the White House will all have to be reimagined from a different perspective. So far, I've been labeled a sovereign citizen myself since I pushed this series. I am not. In the past, I did interact with them some when I was a litigation attorney and received huge binders that some defendants filed with the court. These were packets that desperate people bought on the internet on the promise that it would make their legal troubles go away using magic words. Whenever I received them, I'd smile. I knew my job was a cakewalk from that point on, and all I had to do was file some half-assed response and let the judge do the rest. The advisors who sold this stuff were parasites, and I could only imagine that every loss in court was twisted into a credential for their business that they marketed as fighting back against a corrupt legal system. This was a long time ago, back even before the Tea Party existed, and I now think about those idiots whenever I hear another nutjob right-wing conspiracy theory like QAnon or the Unity Party or other MAGA bullshit. And there it is. There's another reason I use the phrase. To troll all these groups and hijack their hashtags with humanist stories about empathy and loss that is a reflection on how far down the wrong roads our civilization has driven. And that story could only be told by suspending civilization in place and send a single observer in to witness it all, a sovereign citizen.